Epsilon Class. The visibly mutant Epsilon Class mutants represent the lowest tier in Marvel's classification system, defined not by power, but by tragedy. These individuals carry visible mutations that mark them as different: extra limbs, altered skin textures, non-human features, making it impossible to pass as human without significant technological assistance or concealment. What makes this classification particularly cruel is that most Epsilon mutants possess minimal to no superhuman abilities beyond their appearance, experiencing all the discrimination of being mutant without the power to defend themselves. Beak, whose real name is Barnell Bohusk, exemplifies this category with his bird-like appearance, hollow bones, and limited flight capability that barely qualifies as useful. Artie Maddox, with his pink skin and complete lack of a mouth, can only communicate telepathically, offering no combat advantage. Many members of the Morlocks, the mutant community living in New York's sewers, fall into this classification, driven underground by a society that fears and hates them for mutations that brought them no strength or protection. These mutants face the highest rates of violence during anti-mutant purges because they cannot hide and cannot fight back effectively, representing the darkest reality of mutation without power in the Marvel Universe. Delta Class. Below average power. Delta Class mutants possess confirmed superhuman abilities, but these powers fall well below what most people imagine when they think of X-Men. The term appears in Sentinel programming databases as Delta-level threats, indicating abilities present but not tactically significant in combat scenarios. Doug Ramsey, known as Cypher, demonstrates this classification perfectly through his omniglot ability to understand and translate any language, code, or communication system, an incredibly useful power for intelligence work but offering zero combat effectiveness until his post-resurrection upgrades. Leech, despite having the remarkable ability to nullify other mutants' powers, can only do so within a 5 to 10 foot radius, requiring him to be dangerously close to opponents. Paige Guthrie, called Husk, can shed her skin to transform into different materials like stone or metal, but the transformation is painful, limited in duration, and leaves her vulnerable during the shedding process. Glob Herman has transparent skin that reveals his internal organs, granting him some durability, but marking him as visibly different. These mutants represent the statistical majority of the mutant population in Marvel Comics. Individuals with abilities that might help in specific situations, but won't stop Sentinels, won't prevent persecution, and won't earn them spots on elite X-Men teams. Gamma Class. Average mutant ability. Gamma Class represents the standard mutant power level you'd encounter at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Individuals with functional, combat-effective abilities that make them capable heroes, but not overwhelming forces. Sam Guthrie, known as Cannonball, can generate thermochemical blast fields that propel him through the air at high speeds while rendering him nearly invulnerable during flight, making him effective in aerial combat and rescue operations. Jubilation Lee, called Jubilee, generates plasmoid energy bursts from her hands, initially at fireworks level intensity, though later training improved her control and power output. Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, creates duplicates of himself with each duplicate possessing independent thought and the ability to absorb experiences back into the prime body, offering tactical advantages through numbers and multitasking. Hisako Ichiki, known as Armor, manifests a psionic exoskeleton around her body that provides both protection and enhanced strength, making her effective in direct combat situations. These mutants form the backbone of X-Men teams, capable of handling standard superhero situations like stopping robberies, rescuing civilians, or fighting other enhanced individuals. But they can be overwhelmed when facing alpha or omega level threats without support, representing the balance between useful power and human scale vulnerability that defines most mutant experience. Beta Class. Above average capability. Beta-class mutants bridge the gap between standard X-Men members and elite powerhouses, possessing abilities significant enough to operate independently on dangerous missions, and often serving as field team leaders. Catherine Pride, known as Shadowcat, can phase her molecular structure through solid matter, taking others with her, while also disrupting electronic systems and enemy weapons, making her one of the most versatile infiltration specialists in mutant history. Pyotr Rasputin, called Colossus, transforms his entire body into organic steel that grants him superhuman strength, capable of lifting over 70 tons and near invulnerability to physical attacks, making him the team's anchor in direct combat. Psylocke combines telepathic abilities with telekinetic weapons. She manifests as psionic blades, enhanced by her ninja training to create a unique combination of mental and physical combat effectiveness. Rogue's power absorption ability, along with the permanent flight and super strength she absorbed from Ms. Marvel, would place her higher if not for her historically unstable control that makes her powers as dangerous to allies as enemies. Lucas Bishop can absorb vast amounts of energy from any source, including kinetic, thermal, and electrical, then redirect it as concussive blasts, making him particularly effective against energy-based opponents. These mutants can challenge alpha-level threats through tactical thinking and teamwork, representing the elite operatives trusted with solo missions against significant dangers like superhuman crime organizations, rogue mutants, or military installations. Alpha Class, the elite tier. Alpha Class encompasses the most recognizable X-Men, mutants whose powers can threaten entire cities or military forces, earning them classification as significant threats by government agencies worldwide. Scott Summers, Cyclops, fires optic force beams from his eyes with enough power to demolish buildings, combined with tactical genius that makes him the X-Men's field leader, despite not being the strongest member. Aurora Monroe, Storm, manipulates weather patterns on a regional scale, summoning lightning strikes, hurricane-force winds, and temperature extremes that can devastate entire city blocks or stop armies. Bobby Drake, Iceman, possesses cryokinesis that allows him to create massive ice constructs, freeze large areas instantly, and transform his body entirely into ice, though his full potential as an Omega-level mutant wasn't recognized until Emma Frost revealed his mental blocks. Emma Frost herself holds 2 alpha-level abilities: powerful telepathy that rivals Professor Xavier's, and the ability to transform into diamond form with superhuman durability, making her nearly impossible to defeat through conventional means. Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, teleports himself and others across distances of 2 to 3 miles, combined with Olympic-level acrobatic skills and martial arts training. Alex Summers, Havoc, generates plasma blasts of devastating power as Cyclops' younger brother, while Lorna Dane, Polaris, manipulates magnetism and metal on scales approaching her father Magneto's abilities. These mutants form the X-Men's senior leadership, regularly facing world-ending threats and serving as mutant-kind's champions against extinction-level dangers. Omega Class, limitless potential. Omega Class represents the highest standard classification in Marvel's mutant hierarchy, reserved for individuals with no measurable upper limit to their abilities within their specific power domain, making them extinction-level threats capable of affecting planetary or reality-wide scales. Jean Grey stands as perhaps the definitive Omega mutant, possessing telepathy and telekinesis so powerful she can manipulate matter and energy at the molecular level, with her connection to the Phoenix Force elevating her to cosmic-level power that can destroy or create entire star systems. Magneto's mastery over magnetism and the entire electromagnetic spectrum allows him to manipulate planetary magnetic fields, reverse Earth's polarity, and control metals at the molecular level, including supposedly non-ferrous materials, making him capable of dismantling modern civilization within hours. Iceman's true Omega classification, revealed when Emma Frost removed his mental blocks, showed he could control all moisture on Earth simultaneously, recreate his body from any existing ice, and theoretically freeze the planet's water supplies, representing power he consciously suppresses to avoid becoming a monster. Joshua Foley, called Elixir, possesses Omega-level biokinesis that grants total control over biological processes, allowing him to cure any disease, manipulate DNA, or kill with a touch by shutting down cellular function. Gabriel Summers, known as Vulcan, manipulates energy on cosmic scales, absorbing and controlling multiple energy forms simultaneously during his rampage across the Shi'ar Empire. Quentin Quire, calling himself Kid Omega, demonstrates Omega-level telepathy with reality-warping potential through pure thought, though his unstable personality makes him as dangerous to himself as others. These mutants require conscious restraint in daily life to avoid catastrophic damage, face government kill-on-sight protocols, and represent both mutant kind's ultimate potential and greatest existential danger. Beyond Omega, reality threats. Beyond Omega isn't an official classification tier, but rather a functional category for mutants whose powers transcend standard measurement by affecting fundamental reality, time, dimensions, or existence itself, treating them as cosmic-level threats that require multiverse-scale consideration. David Haller, known as Legion, possesses thousands of distinct personalities within his fractured psyche, with each personality controlling a different Omega-level power, ranging from reality alteration to time travel, making him potentially the most powerful mutant alive if he could achieve mental stability, as demonstrated when he accidentally created the Age of Apocalypse timeline by traveling back to kill Magneto. Kevin McTaggart, called Proteus, warps reality itself while possessing human hosts, manipulating matter and energy with thoughts, vulnerable only to metal, which disrupts his energy form, requiring the X-Men to coordinate with Colossus just to have a chance of stopping his rampage across Scotland. Matthew Malloy, introduced in Uncanny X-Men, could erase people from existence with stray thoughts, forcing Professor Xavier to mentally suppress his abilities from birth because his uncontrolled power posed an immediate extinction threat, ultimately requiring time travel intervention to prevent his birth entirely. The Phoenix Force, when bonded with mutant hosts like Jean Grey or Rachel Summers, elevates them beyond Omega classification into cosmic entity status, capable of destroying and creating galaxies, judging entire civilizations, and rewriting universal constants. Hope Summers, with her power mimicry and amplification abilities, can potentially access multiple Omega-level abilities simultaneously by copying nearby mutants, making her classification fluid and dependent on her environment, but theoretically unlimited. These individuals represent universe-ending scenarios that require cosmic-level intervention, multiple timeline erasures, and raise the philosophical question of what happens when mutants transcend humanity entirely to become gods, demonstrating that some powers simply cannot be contained within any classification system designed by mortal understanding. Special classifications. Outside the system, special classifications exist for mutants who defy standard tier placement due to powers that specifically counter other mutants regardless of classification level, adapt to any threat, or change based on circumstances, making them wildcards in power scaling discussions. Armando Munoz, called Darwin, possesses reactive evolution that automatically adapts his body to survive any threat, developing whatever power necessary in the moment, famously surviving an encounter with the World War Hulk by his power instantly teleporting him away, because that was the only survival option, demonstrating that his classification changes second by second based on danger level. Leech, despite being Delta Class in raw power, becomes functionally the highest tier against any mutant due to his power nullification field that simply switches off abilities, regardless of whether facing Omega-level reality warpers or Alpha-level powerhouses, making him one of the most strategically valuable mutants alive. Hope Summers' mimicry aspect means her classification changes based on proximity to other mutants, allowing her to operate at any tier by copying available powers, making her impossible to permanently classify. Forge's intuitive invention ability grants him no combat effectiveness, but allows him to build any device imaginable, including mutant power dampeners, sentinel detection systems, and dimensional portals, making him tactically invaluable despite low personal power. Apocalypse, born in Saba. North thousands of years ago and enhanced with celestial technology, possesses molecular manipulation, immortality, and adaptive capabilities that make his base classification unclear, operating beyond normal mutant parameters. These mutants demonstrate that raw power measurements fail to capture tactical value, strategic importance, or the simple fact that some abilities render classification systems meaningless when a Delta-level mutant can neutralize an Omega-level threat simply by standing nearby. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.